Sometimes in our applications, we may have settings that will change depending on where the application is deployed or certain tasks that the users might want to happen. To do this, .NET provides configuration files. And every project that we've had so far has created a file called appconfig that we haven't used yet. The appconfig file is an XML file that can contain all sorts of data. If you open an appconfig file for a console application, you'll find there's not much in it. But in other types of applications, like Windows desktop applications, this configuration file is going to have a lot more information in it. And it allows us to tweak and customize different settings. In websites, there's a file called webconfig that performs the same kind of task. In this lesson, I'm going to show you the app settings area of the configuration file. App settings allows us to provide keys and values that we can read at runtime to change the behavior of our applications. Because the appconfig file is just an XML text file, when we copy our application to other environments, we can simply open this config file and change the values, and we don't have to recompile our application. It will always read from the current values of the appconfig. This makes it handy for administrators. So I'm going to go into my appconfig, and I'm going to add a tag called app settings. And an app setting has two things. It has a key that we're going to use to read it, and a value, which is the data we want to get out of it. So we're going to add a key. We're just going to call this message, and we're going to set the value equal to hello from config. Now we're going to go over to our program main, and I would like to be able to read in this data. To read data from the appconfig, we want to use the configuration manager. However, this is not included by default in our applications, so we have to talk very briefly about references. Over here in my project, I have a little folder called References, and it shows you all of the things that are included by default, all the namespaces and DLLs. The configuration manager lives in a DLL called system.configuration. It's not in the project, so we can't use it yet. So I'm going to right-click References, and I'm going to say Add Reference. And it's going to allow you to reference things that are in your solution, COM frameworks. You can browse for them on your computer. System.configuration is in the .NET framework, so I'm going to be under Assemblies, Framework. And we can search using this upper right-hand box. I'm going to type config, and you'll see that system.configuration shows up. I'm going to check the box and hit OK. And you'll see that system.configuration now shows up in your folder references. Before I can use the System Configuration Manager, I have to put in a using statement. I'm going to say using system configuration. Now I'm going to read my message value out of the appconfig. So string message equals configuration manager dot app settings, and app settings uses an index similar to an array, except it can also take a string. So we're going to put square brackets, and you'll notice that we have int index, or if I hit the down arrow key, string name. What did we name our key? We named it message. And that's going to return the value of the message key as a string. So it's going to take hello from config, and it's going to put it in this string variable. And then we're going to say the message is, and we will print it out to the console. So when I run this, you'll see that it prints hello from config. Now let's go to show all files and open our bin debug folder, because that's where our program lives. I'm going to open this folder in the File Explorer, and you'll see that here's my application. I can run it and it prints out my message. I'm going to open the config file, and I'm going to open it with Notepad. Because it's just a text file. And I'm going to change my message to something else. We'll just change it to new message. And then I'm going to save the file. We'll close Notepad. And now let's run the application again. And you'll see that it now reads the new message. I did not have to recompile. As I said before, this makes it very easy in deployment scenarios for non-programmers to make changes. It would be a real pain if every time you moved a program to a different machine you had to fire up Visual Studio and recompile it.